Hey, welcome back, traders. Today I'm going to show you how I can quickly and easily test one of these free trade setups that you might have found out there on the web and just wondering, how good could they be if they're just posting them out here for free for everybody to take a look and use. So this one obviously is from tradingnaked.com, and I'd like to thank Mike Burns and also the author of this website, Blue Dog Trading, for putting this out here and letting us test this as an example. So we're going to be testing the MACD conservative setup here, and let me scroll down and we'll take a look at the trading rules. So we can see we're using the MACD, and he kind of gives a definition of what the MACD is. So I'd say, judging from this, I believe this system was posted around 2002 to 2008. All right, so he's using the fast line of the MACD, which is going to be the MACD line, and the slow line, which is now called the average, and the baseline, which is the zero line. You can see he posts the periods that he uses for the MACD, and he's also using a moving average. He typically prefers the 30-period weighted moving average, so that's what we're going to be using. So he gives us the setup here. So we're looking to take a trade in the direction of the trend. That's what I prefer. It's much easier, and so we're going to be using the moving average to kind of determine that. So we're looking for the slow line, which is the average line of the MACD, to cross the baseline, which is the zero line, in the direction of the moving average, or in the direction of the trend. And then we're going to be looking for the fast line, or the MACD line, to cross the zero line in the opposite direction. And then this is what he calls the zone of opportunity. And then he also goes into further to explain that he uses a stop loss order to enter the trade and where to place your stop loss order. So I'm going to scroll down here a little bit further, kind of go past this. And so here's another quick synopsis and a chart. Right, so we're looking for the slow line or the average line to cross the zero line. So this is going to happen way before the trade. And we can see we have the moving average is sloping down. And then we're looking for the MACD line, which is the solid line here, to cross above the zero line in the opposite direction. And this creates your setup. So this is what we'll be looking to create today. I already have a chart already prepared. And let me first slide this over. And I'm going to scroll up to the system rules. And let me show you the chart. So you can see I already have the 30-period weighted moving average, and I have the MACD down here. So the MACD line is the white dotted one, and the average line is shown here as a histogram, or the bar. And then the green line is Bloodhound, which we'll be building a system on. And so the first thing we're going to be looking to do is determine the direction of the moving average. Alright, so let's open up our interface. And another term for the direction of a moving average is the slope. You can look at the slope and that tells you the direction of it. So we're going to use the slope indicator. Add that on there. And I'm going to give this a name. We'll change the indicator. change the period, and we're good to go. We have the outputs already, the default settings of the outputs are correct. And so now if I slide this down, so we can see when the slope of the moving average is up, we're getting a green painted background. And Bloodhound is giving us a long confidence here. And then when the moving average slopes down, Bloodhound's giving us a short confidence value. So that's the first condition, is we're marking the direction of the trend using the moving average. So let's take a look at our next condition. So we want to look for the average line crossing over the 0 line on the MACD. So let's take a look at that. So we're actually going to be doing a comparison and not actually a crossover. So if we take a look at his chart, essentially you just want the average line just to be below the 0 line. That's really the intent of his system, is you want the average line to be below or in the direction of the trend, in the direction of the moving average. So we're going to be comparing the average line of the MACD to the 0 line. Let's add that on there and give this a proper name. Alright, so let's change this over to the MACD. And I'll have to take a look at the periods he's using again. 3, 10, 16. 3, 10, 16. And we're using the average line. So let's change this. And we want to compare it to the 0 line, which is an absolute value. There we go, 0. Alright. Let's turn this other solver off, so we're just looking at this one solver. Let's take a look at the chart. Okay, so the orange bar type is the average line or histogram. And we can see when we cross below, we're getting a short confidence out of that one solver. And it falls in line with the moving average pretty good here. Now we can see when the moving average is up, the average MACD line is up. Alright, let's take a look at the next condition. The next condition is we're looking for the MACD line crosses over the 0 line in the opposite direction. Alright, so let's take a look at that. In this particular case, I'm actually going to be using the crossover solver. Let me add that down here. Turn the other one off. And the reason why, let me scroll down here. If we take a look at his graphic, you know, this trade setup needs to happen fairly soon. So we need to get into the trade, you know, shortly after the MACD line crosses the 0 line. If it stays above it very long, then I would say, you know, you want to cancel the trade. So when we use the crossover solver, let me give this a name here first. So this is MACD to the 0 line crossover. And I'll set the MACD up here. This time we're using the MACD line. It's already selected for us. And once again, we're using the 0 line. Now we have this look back period. So I'm going to set kind of a requirement that we want this to occur at least within 4 bars. And I'm also going to be setting another condition here where I'm going to decrease the output by, let's say 0.05 in this. And we're also looking, so if we take a look at the chart, so when the MACD line crosses above 0, it's actually moving against the trend, right? It's crossing in the opposite direction of the trend. So we're looking for trades, or we're looking for crossovers that occur against the direction. So I'm going to set the output of this to 1 and set this to 0, so it's a little different. All right, so now let's take a look at the chart for that one condition. And so we can see here, let me take a look over here. When the MACD line crosses below the 0 line, we're actually getting a long condition. Right, we're getting a long output, and then when it crosses back above the 0 line, we're getting a short condition, right, which is opposite the trend. And next, if we read up here, essentially the way the trade takes place is, since you're using stop orders, you have to have price basically moving back down in the direction of the trade. And so we can use that also as a condition in our setup here. So what we're going to be doing is looking in the direction of the bar to kind of filter out painting the background. So let's put the bar direction on there, add that on, and it's pretty simple if we take a look. So when we have up bars, right, we have a long output, and when we have a down bar, we have a short output. Pretty simple. So we need all of these conditions to line up at the same time. So to do this, we're going to have to use some logic. We'll create a template, give this a name, the MACD entry, and we're going to have to use an AND logic, which requires all the conditions to occur at the same time. So let's put the solvers on the board here. And just start plugging them into the AND node. And let's take a look at the result. And here we go. So we can see the MACD is sloping up, telling us this kind of the trend is changing up, right? And the MACD average is sloping up. And then we get the MACD line, right, crosses below, right in the opposite direction of the trend. And then as soon as we get our first bar in the direction of the trend, our first up bar, it marks that signal. And that was a pretty good trade. And we got a second one on this trend. And then as the trend reverses, we can see here, so we got a pretty good down slope, right? The MACD average line is below the 0 line, and we get the MACD line itself crossing above, creating the setup, and then we get our down bar. Now, according to his rules, you wouldn't actually get in on this bar. You would set a stop right below, let's see, below this bar, I believe, so you'd get into the trade somewhere down around here, but looks like you could have pulled a few ticks out of that. So, you can see I have a 24-hour chart, and the gray areas are basically the extended trading hours, and this lighter gray is kind of like in between when the market closes and the extending hours start, so it's marked as no market, and then we have the regular trading hours marked here. So if we wanted to kind of scan through this and see how good the signals are, that's why I put this indicator on here to kind of tell me where are the regular trading hours. So we can see, it's short. While it looks like we could have got, I'd say this was worth taking because we could have quite easily gotten a bounce off of this moving average, but unfortunately we didn't. Not this time. This time, we did. The price did bounce off this moving average. Took a while for it to set up to actually pull a profit out of that. Keep in mind, let's see, I'm using a 3-minute bar here, the same as what we're seeing right here. We can tell by this logo, it looks like this was done in Windows 98, maybe Windows 95. So it's definitely an old write-up. And unfortunately, just a lot of flat chopping here. Not much you can do. And now we can see we're in the early morning hours. Let's scroll through this, get back to the next day, and well, this ended up being a pretty good trade. This guy definitely would have got stopped out. Could have made a little bit of money here. Could have got stopped out right here, depending on if you moved your stop to break even. So far, I'd say the majority of these trades are looking good. But this is just looking back a short period of time. Something else we can add right now, though, so that we're not getting signals showing in the overnight session, is we can add a time restriction. So let's add the time session solver. And you can see right now it defaults to the 24-hour period. Let's go find the time session for the futures market. I believe the CME Global Index regular trading hours will work just fine. Let's see. 8 a.m. to 3:15, and this is Central Time, so yep, that looks good. And we'll connect this in there as well. And so the way this is set up right now, the output when it's in session, it's going to give us the permission, it's going to allow the signals to go through. Okay, yeah, so there we go. No more signals after hours or extended hours. And there's our signals during the regular trading hours. Alright, well, thanks for watching, and we'll take a quick look at this system, and really all we can test the validity of these signals by using a fairly small stop and just a slightly larger profit target. So that way we can test to see if price really did take off in the direction of the signal quite quickly. And because we can see this one was a good trade here. This one, this trade definitely questionable because price did pull back for quite a few minutes before it gave up some profit. This was a great signal. Unfortunately, according to the stop rules that he set up in the article, this wick would have stopped you out. Unfortunately, that's just kind of the randomness of the market. And so, all right. So with that, traders, I'll see you guys next week. Thank you.